Hello, welcome everybody. Here I am again, another month. Sculpting jewelry design with ZBrush. My name is Nacho Riesco. We will be here during the next 2 hours sculpting jewelry design. Well, in this case, it's not 100% the jewelry design, but it's nearly connected with the jewelry industry. So I have been making an advertising on my social media about what we are about to make today. Today we're going to talk about coins, about reliefs, and about portraits. So we're going to talk about portraits, reliefs for coins. So this is, for me, it's a very interesting theme. It's an amazing thing which has a lot of techniques, a lot of things to show, a lot of things to teach, and I want to try to show you my techniques for making this kind of commissions or this kind of sculpting works. So it's a big difference than I used to make during my previous streaming when I was making just jewelry designs. I mean, making rings, pendants, and stuff like that. But today we're gonna start with the first streaming about a group maybe of three, or maybe four, or maybe two if we are fast enough. Okay, I think three is gonna be a good number to have a whole collection of 3 different episodes about how to sculpt relief for a coin. So for a coin, I mean with a very thin thickness based on a portrait. I decided to select this portrait of Julius Caesar. You know, it's well pronounced, so not Julio Cesar in Spanish, Julius Caesar. So it is based on a very famous sculpture which is on the Louvre. This from Julius Caesar, and I decided to pick this view, and this is the frame I selected just for making a portrait of him, and we will sculpt it on a flat surface, and we will talk about how to convert this into a coin. So we will consider different aspects during the workflow, and I will be here showing to you which are my techniques when I am receiving this kind of commission. Lately I am making a lot of them. Not all of them are for coins, but many reliefs, I mean. But the coins specifically have a very specific technique. So it is not just to sculpt something and squeeze it, or maybe sculpt just half of the full volume and just cut at the back. So it has more and more development than just being there sculpting. And I will be glad here for showing to you which are my techniques. So welcome everybody. I hope this will be interesting for you. I will pay attention as usual to the chat. Hey Fexter, how you doing? Welcome again. You are my first fan. I really appreciate that you are all of my streaming here. And okay, so if you have any comments or any questions about where I am about to make, because I know that we are talking about reliefs. There are many different kind of techniques. Many people are doing the same stuff, the same thing with different techniques, depending on the final product, which is going to be a coin, is going to be a relief for a wall, or it's going to be a relief for a medal, for a pendant. Maybe we can have different approaches of making almost the same thing, but we'll try to show you my thoughts and my experience over the years making this kind of design. So this kind of sculpting commissions that you can do 100% inside of ZBrush. We are going to take into account measurements, thicknesses, of course, the portraits, the likeness from the original reference. It's going to be very interesting. This is a kind of commission that I love to create. This is very challenging when reliefs come to me. It doesn't matter if it's going to be a coin, a pendant, or whatever. But I think the most important thing that I consider about reliefs is that they are very challenging when we are talking about sculpting techniques, and I will try to show you which are my solutions for approach or for create this kind of sculptures. So I already have here one example. This is one example based on another very well-known character. This is Salvador Dali. And you can see here from the front, it works as the original portrait. And you can see here on the left, which it is, we're going to use the same thickness. here than from Caesar. It is around 30 millimeter tall. This will be framing on a 30 millimeter circle, and it is going to has only 0.3 millimeters, so less than a half of a millimeter. So we're gonna try to sculpt everything in such thin space. So this technique is used on when I'm making this. I send this out to my customer, to my client, and what it does is create the negative of the original volume. I mean, it's like is concave. We are start adding material. We are start extruding the surface from 0 to the highest level. I mean 0.3, as I mentioned before. So what they do is to make it concave for creating this master mold. We can call this master mold. You can see the level of detail that you can approach with this. When you can get with this technique, you can see all the hair strands, on the eyebrows, on the mustache. Also, you can see here, you can appreciate here very well the texture on the fabric, which I sculpted on the original model. You can see there's different strokes for every single strand of hair, and they do this with a laser machine. So they are able to reproduce very fine the smallest details. So that means that we are not going to have a lot of constraints about detail, because after on the manufacturing process they are going to be able to reproduce such tiny details. And then when they have this, what they are doing is they're hitting the original metal sheet and they start making the coin. So this is the negative and they are creating the positive, and the positive of course is the final product, is the coin itself. So this is a good example of a practical example of one design that I already did in the past, and we are going to do exactly the same but with this portrait. I hope you will find this interesting. Jorge, bienvenido. Si quieres hablar en español, preguntar, no hay problema. El Hortelum, that's super cool. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And next step that I take, you can see most of the time the client is sending to me a picture. Now in this case, I decided to pick a well-known or famous person, but most of the time I have people from the family or from another, doesn't matter where they come from, but doesn't matter. That's the reason why it's finally at the end it's going to be a portrait. Doesn't matter it's a famous person or not. But what I do is I frame it on the coin, on the circular limits. Most of the time the client is requesting to me the limits. It is not part of my work, so they decide which are the limits. So then what I do is this is going to be the main reference that I'm going to use. And what I do was the first step that I take before I start sculpting, I send the image to Photoshop and I start making different contrast from the same image. You can see this is the original, almost the original. You can see here more or less the gray and the black and the whites are almost the same. You can see we can call this the original, or the more where we have more information about the gray tones, about the volumes, because when we are talking about reliefs, the reliefs it's a world between 2D and 3D. So you are sculpting something, so you are carving, you are pulling the surface or pushing the surface, but at the same time you are using concepts from the 2D. You are using concepts like perspective, line weight, and stuff like that. So this is one of the things that I like a lot about reliefs, because it's a mix between 2D and 3D worlds. So we can call it 2.5D. It is not exactly 2.5D, but we can understand it is in between the two different ways of working. So for that reason, what I do is open the image into Photoshop. I apply a high contrast just for try to remove the mid values from the grays. So where I am just having the deepest areas, like the eyebrows, for example, the eyelids, the limits of the eyes, the contour of the mouth, for example, the cavities of the nostrils. This information is going to be very important for the likeness, because we are almost have only lines, only marks, black marks, where we are watching the limit of the head, where starts the hair, where start the lips, and most important thing for me in this kind of this type of image is the information for the likeness. When we can block, we can put everything in place, so we are not making the eyes bigger or smaller. We are not putting one eye farther than necessary, so everything is going to be in place. So for that reason, we are going to use this. And also, when I apply a third filter or a third adjustment from the image. When I apply less contrast, but I try to increase the shadows. So where this kind of image is giving to me the depth of the sculpting. That means because at the same time where we are going to use a very thin thickness, as we are mentioned before, we are going to use 0.3 millimeter thick. This is going to be very thin. So even with that thickness, you can see here on the example that I have been showing to you before, we are going to be able to apply some kind of depth, because we are going to be able to differentiate, for example, here, the jaw from the neck. We can differentiate very easily the ears from the neck, or for example, we can differentiate the depth of the eye cavities, or for example, the nostrils, of the expression of the mouth. This is going to be even important, even having such thin amount of material to work with. So for that reason, I apply this kind of filter to the image when I can recognize where are the deepest areas. So just for having a good volume on the final, result. So we're going to attach these three images to the polyframe. I'm sorry, to the floor. Just for when we are sculpting, we are going to follow the lines or the guidelines of the contour or the different volumes using these images. So that's the reason why I'm not only using only one image. So I apply different contrast filters or contrast adjustments, just for having more information than the original picture. When we are having everything at once, when we are having the volumes, we're having the lines, we're having the lights, and sometimes could be a bit confusing because you are watching the whole information at once. So for me, it's much better when we're talking about, most of the time when we are talking about likeness, where we are talking about portraits, it's easy to differentiate the different stages or the different parts of the sculpting with different images as individual references. So, and this is you can see here, this is the third explanation I'm gonna give you. This is going to be very important when we are talking about reliefs. Is the fake, it's not 100% fake, but when we're having such small space, so we are gonna try to give the sense of perspective even with such a flat form. So when, in this case, when we are having this portrait, you can see the head is watching to the side, and we are taking the picture from underneath. So it's like we're taking the picture from this angle. So we should play with the different angles of the face, just considering that the face and the neck is a cube. So when we are having this one to be one face of the cube, this is going to be the second face of the cube, and this is going to be the third face of the cube visible from the picture. Of course, the third and the fourth faces of the cube are not visible because they are on the back, but we should consider that this in terms of perspective, because as we are creating a sculpting, we are going creating a 3D object. Well, it's not 100% 3D as I mentioned before, but we are going to try to catch this sense of perspective of 3D volume. So you can see it here. This is a more frontal picture, but you can see, you can appreciate here clearly that the head, it's in one plane, then goes the neck, and then goes the shirt and the tie and that and more elements. And you can see here the volume of the forehead. So this is going to be tricky when we are sculpting a relief, but this is very important to consider during the sculpting process. And that's it. This is my initial explanation about we're about to create. Let's see, we are going to be here 2 streamings or 3 streamings. I mean, 2 or 3 months, because I used to stream once a month. And I'm sure that it's going to be fun. So I hope you will find that interesting, because this is a very common work nowadays that you can receive like a digital sculpture. It's not just making 3D figures, so you can create also reliefs on one of the fields. There are many sculptors and many professionals which works on the minting industry, which they are minting coins, medals, and maybe not current coins, but maybe for special events and stuff like that. There are a lot of people are looking for sculptors who have knowledge about the sculpting reliefs. So let's go. Hey sir, welcome. So let's see. Let me check. Let me know if the music is too loud or is you are listening to me properly. I'm gonna take this as a main reference. I have tried to leave the music not too loud in the background. So just let me know if you are not listening my voice over the music. So let's go. So first, I'm gonna try here during this streaming, like making this like a explanation where I'm, as usual, during my streaming, when I am explaining what I'm doing during the stream. But don't hesitate. If you have any questions not related about what I'm doing, just go ahead and send your question or comment. So I will be glad to be here to helping you. And the first time, the first priority, we're going to be talking about the main theme, the sculpting this relief for coin. So the first hola, Biself, me alegro que te sea interesante. Pregunta lo que necesites, si quieres en español, en inglés, como prefieras. The first step that I grabbed for what is started from, let me put this here. So most of the time the client is giving to me the diameter of the coin, or most of the time is not the whole coin, because you can see here it's just a frame. So I am talking about what there is inside of this central circle. So I am talking about this line. We are not talking about the real limits of the coin most of the time, but most of the time, in this case, this is going to be just for making a practical or real, as more real as possible example. We're gonna give this 30 millimeter diameter to this circumference of this circle. So the first step, when I'm grabbing a cylinder 3D, so the next step, go into the scale master, of course. So we are talking about measurement or having the measurements under control within ZBrush. We should go always here to the scale master plugin. So first time to set the scene scale. So let's I think I'm gonna put this here better. I'm going to change the mode with on top. Okay, and set the scene. Okay, ZBrush is telling to me that it is not still a polymesh, right? My first mistake. So make a polymesh 3D. Now we are going to be able now to read the measurement, set scene scale. Now it is 2 by 2 by 2 millimeters. It's a very small object. So we decided to make it 30 millimeter. So let's don't forget to turn this on, the R. So that means that when we are changing one of the values, the other two are going to be adjusted according to the new value you set. In this case, because we are looking for a proportional adjustment or measurement or size change. So let's say 30 millimeters. So now it's 30 by 30 by 30 millimeters, resize subtool, and now the cylinder now has 30 millimeter. So next step that I take, I'm gonna a pin, a cube. I repeat always this process to all of the reliefs that I need to sculpt. So I make it bigger, make it smaller. And this is going to be this cube. You can see that it's bigger than the limits, and it is not necessary. I just adjust this just for using my eye, so I don't care if it is this size or this size. I mean, instead of left the cube as it was, so make it a little bit thinner like this. And this is going to be the back cut. I think this is going to be, of course, the reliefs are going to be flat to the back, complete the vertical cut. I'm going to use this mesh for making the rear cut. And then what I do is I duplicate this cube and play into solo mode and come back to the scale master again. Now these are the current measurements that the cube has. It's 34.74 by 7.8 by 34. Those are random measurements because I've mentioned before these measurements are not yet very important. In this case, it's just the volume that we are going to use to cut the back part of the sculpting. For the copy that I do, and I'm gonna change the name. This is the maximum. This is going to be the limits, or maybe better, we can call this 8 limit. So what I do is set the scene scale, read the measurement. Now it's going to be very important to turn this off because I only want to change this measurement, the thickness of this block or this cube. And now this, in this case, this is according to this measurement. Then let me check one. Let's stop here and let me check, because I used to use the Z-axis from the floor. As you can see now, everything is not, and maybe I should turn on this icon. We can rotate it 90 degrees just for having this floor or this grid behind the cube. I prefer, this is just my preferences. You can use any other axis if you prefer, but in my case I prefer to use the Z-axis. Now let's turn on the solo mode again, read again the measurements. Of course, now we have now 7.8 millimeter, not on the Y as before. Now we have that measurement on the Z-axis, and now we go from this value to 0.3 millimeter, which is going to be the maximum height of the relief. So let's resize the tool, and this is going to be the maximum height. So what we are about to sculpt can't be higher than this measurement, 0.3 millimeter. And one extra thing that I do, just from my personal preferences, I change the color of this subtool because I mark it in red just for recognize better the limits of the sculpt. So now we can go to RGB and fill object. So now we are having 3 different subtools. Let me turn this off. Now we should push this back, push to the left, and then let me zoom in, and we can put it more or less exactly in the limits. It is not, I turn on the transparent, you can see you can go a little bit farther or less. In this case we are talking about 0.000 millimeters. It's not going to affect the final measurement, but you can be as more precise as possible. Just be here, for example. It's going to be enough. So let me frame it. So that means that we have, you can see this 0.3 millimeters compared with the previous block that we made. So next step that I do, let me read your comments first. Can you give me a ZBrush or away? What do you mean? I understand you, but maybe I can't do what you are asking. I can find the kit code metal core. Yeah, the kit code metal core is not working anymore. I'm sorry about that, but they are still trying to fix it, but it is not available anymore. It doesn't work. If you are able to find it, it is not going to work. So I'm sorry. Bad news for all of us which are worried about the weights when we are sculpting objects inside of ZBrush. And let me turn around. No more questions, no more comments. Okay, so Next step, let's come back to the cylinder. Remember that the cylinder has 30mm. What I do is I turn on the polyframe. You can use the groups my normal button. I already have this button on my custom interface, but if you go to your polygroup section, you will find the same button here, groups by normal. So you will have now 3 different polygroups: front, this is the side or the profile, and the back. So we are going to use only this, in this case the red one. This is the curve or the circular surface. Control Shift tap. So once we have the other 2 hidden, delete hidden, so I don't care about the other, so I only looking for this one. And now we can go now to the Z modeler, stay in the middle of any of the polygons, spacebar. So let's make a Q mask to all polygons. So now let's make it bigger, like this. And when we are then, this is what we have now. One extra step that I used to take is crease the polygroups. So now we are a creasing line on its border between 2 different polygroups, and now pressing the D to get into the dynamic subdivision. So always yes. So we are getting just for getting a smoother surface. And now we should change the organization of the different subtools that we have. This one should be underneath of this one, and we're about to turn this on. So, and now we have, well, this is going to be better at the end of the list. This is what we have. So this is what we have: the limits. You can see here the limits, 0.3 to 0.3. We already have the limits of the coin, 30mm, and we have the back cut of the vertical cut for this is the setting, the setting that I use for all of the coin reliefs that I do. So I have the necessary measurements that I need. What we need is let me put it this. This is the 30mm. Okay. This is the diameter for this. Where we are using this subtool for making that. So we don't care about the limits during the sculpting process, because we already have one subtool set to the right measurement. I will show you what happened before. And now what we have, we have the limit. We have this. The limit is here. Well, when the red line here, another very important measurements to have under control. This is the 0.3mm thick. This is the total thickness of the height of the maximum height of the relief from 0. That means that this is the 0. So the relief will start growing from here, something like this, and we'll start raising, and this is going up and going down again to 0. And at this point, at the highest point, we are having 0.3mm, not more than 0.3mm. So once we have everything in place, we can start continuing sculpting. Let's save this. Let me save this as first step of the process. This is the Caesar coin. Coin number 1. Okay. And okay, next step is, as we did before, we already have the Z-axis on the back part. Now we go to draw menu. We change the grid size so we can make it bigger. Doesn't matter in this case how big, so it doesn't matter if you adjust it this big or this big. Of course, I prefer to go further than the limits. I'm watching here a problem. Let me check. for any reason the circumference is not in the center, you can see I am watching here the center. You adjust for -1 to 0. Now this is the center. The center is not exactly in the circumference of the circle. We can go to 0 on the Y, 0 on the Y, and 0 on the Z. Now, okay, undo it. Okay. For any reason I move it, maybe by mistake, to one of the axes. You want to send again any subtool to the center of the workspace. You can use these buttons. You can see if I press the Y, it wasn't exactly in the middle. If I press it on X, now it is in the middle. Let me check this. It is in the X, Y. Okay, the same thing. X and Y. Okay, now everything is exactly in the middle. So now we are sure that everything is exactly in the middle. If you want to know where these buttons are, you should go to macros, open the macro sections, and you will find 0x, 0y, and 0z. And also you will find center mesh to world. So it's a very useful button just for send what you want exactly in the middle of the workspace of the world, of the 3D world. So now we are 100% sure. But if you want to make a double check, you can go to geometry, position, and now you can say everything is 0, 0, 0 world. That's 0, 0, 0.0002 that means 0. Okay. So now next step is to attach the reference image to the grid or to the floor. For that, we should go to the draw menu, open, in this case, the front back section corresponds to the Z axis. Click it on the map one. We are having access to the different textures. We should import the image using this button. And now we'll select here for my hard drive, this one. Now you can see the image is attached to the. This is going to be the front view. So now we are having the geometry in front of the picture. Just for fixing that, we should go to draw to this section of the draw menu, changing the fill mode from 1 to 3. Now we are able to see through the geometry. My personal preferences are enhance factor to 1 and enhance opacity maybe in the middle, around the middle. And now we can change now the scale and adjust it maybe a bit to the right. And there you go. This is the right framing for the picture. Once you have all the adjustments done, you can save this as a CGR file for the next sessions of sculpting. That means that it's not going to be necessary to repeat all the adjustments every time you are launching ZBrush. So if you are saving this file, you will be able to open it again, maybe tomorrow or next month or whenever you need it. So let me save this, and now everything is safe. Okay, let me see. Visual, esa es una moneda sería para imprimir y castear, no pensé en un relieve así pudiera enfrentar. A ver, te contesto en español y luego lo traduzco en inglés. No es una moneda para imprimir y castear. Es una moneda para... Normalmente las monedas de este tipo, que estamos hablando de 0,3 milímetros de grosor, no se pueden imprimir, se pueden castear, pero no quedan bien. O sea, si estamos hablando de monedas, estamos hablando de acuñado. Y el acuñado se hace con otra técnica. Entonces esto se haría con una matriz que luego te va a acuñar las monedas. Y esta matriz se origina, no se hace con impresión 3D, sino que se hace con mecanizado CNC o en este caso con láser, para generar todos estos detalles. Entonces no se castea directamente, se hace el molde maestro, que sería este que ves aquí, y se acuña el metal para crear la moneda. Esto lógicamente es para tiradas grandes, de unidades grandes, no es para hacer una moneda o una medalla, sino para hacer tiradas, porque la fabricación del cuño sale cara. Exacto. Eso son where we are about to talk about during the next streaming. I have been talking with Biself on the chat in Spanish. I'm sorry, but we are going to create. We are going to talk about the sculpting reliefs, but for coins. For coins, that means that we are going to use a completely different method than the regular method, which is 3D printing and casting. We are going to use CNC milling. We are going to use CNC milling machines or laser engraving machines to create this master mold just for minting the metal for coins. So that's the reason why we are using this thin space. It's a big difference when we are talking about reliefs. It's not a relief that we can see on a pendant for, if we are talking about a jewelry product. So in this case, if we are talking about coins, we are talking about a very small amount of relief, so that it's going to be minted, or in acuñado in Spanish. Mr. Shadow, bienvenido, encantado de tenerte. So this is the thing that I found interesting to talk, is not being here just talking about how to create another relief, because if you go to my YouTube channel, let me show you. If you go to my YouTube channel and just scroll down, you can see here the collection of all of the streaming that I have been doing during the past years. If you turn this, open the whole list, you will find different examples of creating reliefs. In this case, I made this relief for a ring. I create this relief for a pendant. I made more. Let me find more. I made this. It's almost like a relief because it is a pendant, but it is flat on the back. It's a high relief. I was sculpting this relief for maybe for a medal, or this relief, for example, can be carved in wood or stone or whatever. And you can see here the relief, how it works. But here we are talking a completely different method, because in these examples we are having more room for sculpting the forms than the room or the space that we are having on a coin. It's very limited, 0.3 millimeter thickness. Also, I made this coin when I was creating this kind of relief. This is not looks like a coin, but it's with a completely different technique. That's the main reason why I found interesting to create this kind of technique, just for showing to you how to create the relief only for coins, for minting purposes. Okay. Also, if you are reading here at my bottom, I will try to here. You can find here my link tree. Now you can see it better here, my link tree. If you go to it, let me show you what I'm talking about. When I am here, you will get access to here. If you go to my Behance section here, clicking here. For example, this is a very good example about what I'm talking about. This is a project that I made when I was creating this relief for this group of coins. You can see here the amount of relief that here we have. This is the same thing, about 0.25 or 0.3 millimeter, just for minting this collection, or a special collection of coins about this group of people. And these are the sculptings for each of them. You can see here we are talking about 0.3 millimeter thickness. Let's see how you can achieve all of the detail in a very small space. And this is what I found interesting to show during my next 3 streamings. So just for sculpting this, it's the same concepts: portraits applied to coins, applied to reliefs. So this is going to be the main theme about this. So you can check it out if you prefer. You want to go and give it a look to my Behance. It is on my Behance section here. On Behance is where I used to put a collection of different projects that I'm working on. So not just the same stuff applied to jewelry or not, most of the projects that I do, but here you will find much more different projects or apply to different industries. So this is the place that I use for them, not for showing my work as regular works on Instagram or Facebook. This is one other maybe more professional place to show. Maybe we're talking about more projects instead of one single model or one single sculpt. It feels so good. You made the one bas relief based on our video with a girl. Oh, very glad to know that. So I hope you find it useful and learn something from me. Gracias, Beatles. Gracias. So let's start sculpting, right? Let me make this smaller. Okay. The first step that I take. Let me see more if I missed any of your comments. No. Looks no. Okay, so when we are talking about portraits of people, we need a head, we need eyes, we need a nose, we need a mouth, we need a head. Of course, we need the hair. We need to find one likeness based on the person. So I start always. You can see here. You go to your tool. You will find this head on your tool folder inside of your light box. You will find this head, and what I did is just separating the head, just having the head. So let me show you what I'm talking, and I make this. I'm not going to show you the process because it's very simple. So I went from the original to this one. So you can see I remove completely the hair, I remove the shoulders, and I remove the most of the chest and the shoulders, and I am just left the head with the eyes. The eyes are not going to be very important, so let me hide it, and with a portion of the neck. So I will. So this is what I have. This is going to be my starting point. You have been watching previous examples about different persons. Every single person was made with this head. So that means it's just a matter of to start adjusting the different head proportions to the eyes and the mouth till matching the necessary likeness. But as a starting point, I am using always this head, this neutral or the standard head. Doesn't matter if it is a woman or a man. What I am worried about it's I need two eyes, one nose, mouth, and ears. So, and this is gonna be the starting point. Chameleonic. Yeah, I think you need to adapt your knittings to what you have. In this case, when you become a professional, I think instead of the artistical way of creating things, it's more important the practical way of creating things in terms of time. So if you are able to produce more, you're going to be able to earn more money or being a better professional. So maybe, in my opinion, you have two different ways: artist or professional. Maybe a confluence between each other, in my opinion, is not 100% possible. You can have one of them, maybe 50-50 or 60-30 or stuff like that. But at some point, if you want to be a professional, I mean, you want to earn money, if you want to pay the bills, you need to start forgetting the artistical part of the person, of the thoughts. I think it's my personal concern, right? So you are not agreeing with me, so doesn't matter. So this is based from my experience. So I missed being a better artist, but most of the time I can't, because I have to create the commission that I receive from my clients. I'm not able to create. I just have to make what they are requesting to me, and That's the reason why I say that. So it is not possible to keep 100% of each. So okay, let's start working. So let me see because I start talking and I don't work. So let me. You can see I'm gonna import the image just for keep it visible. You go to texture, import. And let's use the, for example, this one. This one. Texture. No, this one is not possible. Maybe it's a wrong format image. Well, why I can't? Oh, I can't do it. Okay, no problem. Let me keep this visible here then. Okay, let's frame it here. Mode always on top. And here, as you can see here, we need a neck. So I prefer, when I'm sculpting most of the time, of course, I can say 100% of the times, but most of the time, my main way of working is working like the Frankenstein mode. So that means it's very famous nowadays with the latest Del Toro film. So when you start chopping or cutting the different parts from your model, and after you start assembling them like a puzzle. In this case, in my opinion, it's giving to you faster possibilities instead of trying to make a pose, bending things. So I prefer to cut it, separate them, and start merge them together with as individual forms. So just for separating the head from the neck, maybe you can use a mask lasso, for example. Let's separate it. Let's split mask points. Split mask points. So now let's delete the eyes. Okay, and this is the head. Let's come back to the original. This is the original reference with the light boolean. So we should insert here the head. We just cut it. Okay, it needs to be bigger. Boink. Like this. Something like this. Let me turn this off, because at this point it's not going to 100% keep it visible, because at this point we are not concerned, we are not worried about the thickness, the maximum height. Not at this point. Let me turn this off. But the head should be in the top of the list, because the behavior of this subtool should be negative. Remember that this is going to be the vertical cut, so this is going to be, that means that we can push this and stuff like this. But at this point it's not going to be very important, because at the beginning of the process we are going to be worried about the likeness, perspective, position, composition, and stuff like that. Once everything is ready, we can start squeezing and start making things thinner than the original, and that's it. So let me open this space, because maybe the opacity, because you can see the image is too bright, so we are not able to see what happens on the mesh. So let me put it this, and let me turn off the perspective, and then let's start trying to match the head position based from the reference. You can see here the eyes. This is going to be very important. Start taking references. This is one of the things that I was talking about before, the connection between the 3D world and the 2D world. In this case, it's like blocking lines when you start making a drawing, when you start marking the middle of the head, the level of the eyes, the tip of the nose, and the mouth. So you start, when you are adjusting things, you are taking visual references with your brain at the same time that you are moving things around. So it's a very good of training your brain and your eyes when you are making this. Of course, the head is not going to match 100% the reference, the likeness, because we are using a neutral or basic neutral form, because I'm at this point I'm only concerned about the position of the different elements. So for example, the eyes should be here, or less here. But the eye, you can see the jaw. Let me check the opacity. Okay, maybe it's going to be necessary to have more something like this. And now we can use the move brush to start adjusting things. Remember that you have one thing inside of ZBrush very useful. Probably all of you already know the 3 different ways of symmetry that we can use inside of ZBrush. Let me open the transform menu. If I keep this, you can see one of them is the local symmetry, and inside of the local symmetry button you have the dynamic option. You can turn it on and turn it off if necessary. But if you can turn this on, you can create your own custom symmetry. That means that the symmetry is going to be based on the gizmo position, and for stuff like this it's going to be very useful. So it will save you time. This is going to be the main purpose when we are talking about jewelry. When we are talking about 3D, using a digital tool compared with the reality, so we can use symmetry. You can. So let's send the gizmo to the center. Let's try to match the right perspective. Maybe it's going to be a good idea to put it closer to the eyes, like this. Don't forget to press the Alt key or open the lock. If you don't open the lock, you are going to move the head. So you should keep this open, like this, and they should be in the middle. So if we trust local symmetry, if you turn the symmetry now, you can see you having the symmetry, even if the head is not 100% straight, right? So you can start now adjusting things. Let me see, the eyes are going here. Nose. Maybe we can, oops, with the peaks. You can use the, I'm going to turn off my Sculpting Pro. So let me see. Maybe we change the material. We put a lighter material like this one. It's going to be better. So we can keep moving. In this case, it's very important to put the eyes in the right position. Eyelids, for example. For this, it's going to be, we can play with opacity. So the opacity is there. So they go something like this. Of course, during the sculpting process, we will be adjusting and adjusting anatomy till getting the right likeness. So that means that at this point of the process, we don't need to be 100% accurate. So we are just putting things in place like this. You can see the things becomes a bit weird, but don't worry about that because we still need a lot of work like this. In my opinion, maybe some of you are thinking why I'm not starting from a flat surface and I'm start sculpting the eyes, starting the nose. As I was been saying before, I'm just here showing to you my way of working. I found for me this is faster than start from a neutral shape like a sphere or like a flat surface and start sculpting. I prefer to use this method. I found save time, and this is the reason why I'm here, showing it to you. So we can use the clay build-up without an alpha. The head looks very weird. Let me put this back a little bit because the forehead looks huge. So it's more, so this is the limit of the head that's going to be there. We are lucky because the ears are there, because I will show you, will explain to you what we are going to do with the ears. You should start checking many different references. For example, this is the limit of the jaw when I am watching. More or less is this. That means that here we have a plane, but here we have a different plane. We have here two different planes. Here we have another one for the mouth and so on. So we are having this kind of profile. If I turn this off, you can see here I have this limit. I already have the limit of the jaw here and not here. So this is the things that we need to adjust, and it's very important that you start training your eyes and start recognizing what is wrong and what is right. Okay, I'm sorry, 1 minute. Back. Problem with one thing. Okay. Okay, no more comments, no more. Okay, no. So let's come back to the sculpting. Now we can grab the polish. Now to start adjusting that thing, we can, for example, use this brush and make a mark of where is the jaw, like this, with the polish. Now without the Sculpting Pro active, we can start. You can see even the head is empty, but it is not closed. Maybe I can reduce the intensity like this, and maybe we can start. At this point, it is not necessary to be worried about the details. Let me check where are the limits, and kind of like this, because we are still working with a full 3D object, the head. Remember that we are about to squeeze it and after work with very small. As we already have the ear, I prefer to separate the ear from the head with the same concept, Frankenstein mode, remember? So let's, okay, we can use the lasso. It's gonna be faster. If I grab one ear, we don't care about the right ear because it's not visible. Now we can split only this one, split mask points. Now we can close holes like this. So we can keep, maybe smooth a bit the limits. Now we start getting like this and like this and like this. Maybe the cheek, the limit of the head is not there. We should be push this back a little bit like this. And now we are start. Maybe the eyes looks a bit strange now because for the cavities. When we have the eyeballs, it's gonna be more similar. So let me adjust this, maybe adjust this part, adjust this part. But here you can see here the nose works very good, the perspective, I mean. Maybe the mouth, we need to close the mouth a little bit. I'm gonna use the back face mask. You can see how strange it looks like when we start rotating, because we don't care about this view, right? So but you can see it looks very strange, but okay, no problem. So we can, let me adjust a bit the mouth. Yeah, he looks like the real Frankenstein with the Frankenstein method. Yeah. Yes, it's a mix between the Frankenstein and the guy from the Goonies. Okay, so something like this. I will let me save first, and I will show you one trick that I use. Where I am here. Because when you are using a reference, a back reference like this one, even if you are playing with opacity, you can see you start playing with opacity. Now I can see a big mistake on this eye. I need to adjust it better. Like this. Okay. Let me fix a little bit the mouth. Okay, so when you have this, one very good way for checking everything is in place, even if you are playing with opacity, remember the draw with opacity, you can see you can start putting the eyes in the right place, the nose is having the right size, the mouth, for example, here I am watching here a mistake on the mouth, for example, the cheekbones here, for example, the jaw and stuff like that, everything, the contour of the head, let's start looking the same. But some cases it's very difficult to see if everything is right. A very cool way to make a double check about this is going to the material. For example, you can grab the basic material like this one. That's a great color. And if you go to the modifiers here inside of the material, to the mixer section, and you go here, you have one of the sliders or control. It is called outline and depth. If you go from 0 to 1, just start watching black line on the limits. It's like this, and then you can play with the depth. You can remove or add more. Of course, if the mesh is so faceted like it is now, if I subdivide it, Ctrl D, so you start watching better the limits of each element, the eye, the mouth, and the key. Even using the same technique, maybe the basic material is not the best choice. If you go, you select, for example, the skin shade number 4, this one, using the same setting, outline and the depth. Start playing with the depth. You can see you're going to start drawing the limits with a black line. Depending on the depth, you can apply more or less. You are grabbing more or less quantity. And now, oops, if you now turn on this, you can see it's much better to match or to match the original reference with this method. You only want the lines on the contours, you can use this, and you can see here how you can follow better the contours. So now you can adjust better the nostrils, but you can see that the nose profile were good. Something like this, maybe with the depth more like this. You can see the mouth, it starts here, ends here. The limits, maybe you can grab this brush and start creating the with more something like this. And now you can see here you can start matching. Here, for example, you can find easily the mistake you are having here on the eye. maybe with depth a little bit more, like this, like this. So maybe we are good at this point. You can see here everything, and now it matches. Maybe we can fix the shape of the head also. Okay, let me save. So now if we grab the ear, we chop it before. This is the ear. So let me close holes. Where you close holes. Now with the Sculpting Pro, we can get rid of this part of the mesh that we don't want to use. And let's extrude it again, something like this. Okay, this is the floating ear, so from the Frankenstein, and now we only need to adjust it to its right position, based from the reference, of course. The ear is a good example about what I was explaining before about the splitting parts and making the composition like a Lego or like a Frankenstein, when we are chopping things, separating from the body, instead of changing the pose with the normal method of masking, transpose, and so on. So that means that the ear goes there somewhere. This is what we get, right? We can come back to the other material, and I can see here now the differences. Okay, so the ear is not necessary now. It is necessary the head. This is the head that we have. This is a strange head, maybe. Poor guy. So we can, let me check the polygroups, Ctrl W for one polygroup. And now I'm going to use the slice curve just for slicing the mesh. No, that's subdivision levels. Let's remove them here and delete hidden. So this is delete hidden, close close. Okay. And now let's start squeezing. And this is when things becomes sensitive. So that means at this first stage of squeezing, that's it, we start from the 3D volume with a full profile. You can see the full profile here, nose, mouth, and so on. We need to start squeezing the head till matching the total height of the relief. Remember that we should go from this thickness to this thickness. We should put everything inside of this thickness. It's a bit tricky because it's a matter of squeezing, adjusting till getting everything in place, but it's 100% possible. So remember that. I will show you again the example that I have here about Salvador Dali. You can see here the same. Everything is 0.3 millimeter thickness of this. Also here I have a video where you can see very good. You can see what I'm saying. You can see it looks like a 3D, but when you start rotating the mesh, you can see it is almost completely flat, right? But we are going to do something similar here. Okay, you are very quiet. No, so no comments. Okay, so let's start. So let's start squeezing this. Let's start pushing. maybe here. Maybe here the first problem we are having here is we are looking for something like this is the flat butt cut, and this should be more or less something like this, right? So when we have this mouth and the chin, so it needs to be more or less completely vertical. You can see it's completely vertical here. This is if we have a limit, it is, we have a parallel line. This is the back, this is the cut on the back, and we need to a parallel line, more or less everything organized vertically. And now what we have now, we are having a kind of angle here. This is what we have. So we should start trying to rotate it, squeeze it to make it vertical, but keeping the same feeling of perspective than the original head has. So this is the objective, but you know what I mean. So we need to go, when we are sculpting a 3D object, we can play with the rotation of the head, but we should convert this head into a relief. We should squeeze everything, but retaining this sense of the perspective that we have here, right? So, right, this sense of perspective. So the head is not, it's facing up, and always also is rotated a bit to the right. So with the 3D works, but when we need to convert this like this, but this view doesn't work to make that, you have the transpose line. This is another technique that I will show you. It's using the transpose line. How go from an angle head to a flat vertical head, keeping the same perspective. So you have this transpose line. So you know that you can call the transpose line turning this on and off, or using the Y from your keyboard. So you can start in this case, this is going to be the right position is going to be a vertical line. So you can see here you can start making this. Let me show all the face. You're gonna start making movement like this. So you make a line and you grab this red circle on the top circle, and now you can start making vertical. But you can see in the front remains the same, remains with the same perspective as before. So now it is vertical. So you can see here we went from here with the wrong angle to a flat angle or parallel angle, zero angle in this case, because we are looking for a vertical cut. So we went from here to here just using the transpose line, and you can see we use both on the front. You can see both remains with the same perspective. That's the reason why at the first stage of the blocking was very important to select the right position of the head, the right rotation, the right perspective, and now from that position we can start sculpting the different elements of the head. So once we need to go from that 3D object to a 2D relief, we can use this process just for transforming the things. Okay, so now it is already flat, so now we need to go from the tip to the back, so we can start squeezing this. Also, maybe we can control W. We can use the clip curve just for clipping this. In this case, you can see the clip curve is not a good idea because you are clipping part of the mesh which is higher or are extended more than the limits of the head. So in this case, I prefer to use the slice curve, slicing the mesh, creating a new polygroup, selecting the green polygroup in this case, delete hidden, close hold. Now we have this. Let's push this back like this. Let me, you can see we are still far away from to match the necessary thickness. So in this case, what we need to do now is we already have different forms. We were previously sculpting them, so the eyes, the nose, and so on. So if we start squeezing this with the gizmo like this, so you can see we can lose them easily. If we try just for squeezing everything together, the forms we were worried about before, we can remove them very easily. So we can do is, for example, if we have a head like this, where we have concentrated the amount of detail in this portion of the mess, this portion of the mess is okay, is where we have all the anatomy, so the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. But here we have another part of the head, which it is important, but it is not so important because it's going to be much easier to fix, for example, this forms, instead of need to re-sculpt again the eyes, the nose, and so on. So we can squeeze this section of the form. If we are able to push this to the front, but retaining the okay surface, we're gonna get even smaller or thinner relief, which is going to be much better the total height of the necessary relief. So how we can do that? You can use again the transpose line. The transpose line, we decided that this is the okay. This is going to be the limits. For example, here, and this is going to be, you should go from here to the right. So from this point to the left, the yellow, we will need to preserve or retain or to keep as it is, or as much as more as possible, the yellow area or strength fall here. Not very important because, for example, if we grab this brush, we can fill this. Okay, and now we can stand, and for example, let's start squeezing everything from the zero surface to here. So we're gonna start pushing this back, and now, for example, what we can do now, another surface that we can squeeze a little bit. For example, if we create a line here, so everything is inside of these limits, we can squeeze it a little bit more, because just for trying to keep more or less vertical like this. So same process as before with the transpose line. In this case, from the cheekbone, for example, here to here, we're gonna start squeezing this. And for example, for the tip of the nose, we can start the line from here to here. We're gonna start making this. Okay. Now we can push back the eye cavities and stuff like this. And let me see. I'm gonna select this polygroup and make it thicker. This. Let me check how thick is this now. So we can go to here with the light boolean. So we can go here. And let's see. Ooh, we still stay too much over the limits. You can see here this part of the head start looking good. Let me see from this angle, from this angle. So we're gonna start squeezing this a little bit more. push it back like this. No. Let me see. You can see here almost. What I'm gonna do now is let me grab again. I'm going to try to preserve this the same limits as before. This where the eyes, nose, and mouth is. I have more detail, and using the transpose line, I'm gonna start the transpose line here from here to here. I'm going to maybe here. Let me push this to the front, this, and then let's push this back, this, and ooh, almost. We only have a little problem with the tip of the nose. Maybe using the Move Infinity brush, we can start adjusting this, just in the mouth, and just in the tip, and the eyebrows. And you can see here things start going in place like this. We're having a problem with this, so we should push this out a little bit. Same thing with this, and maybe start squeezing a little bit more here. Let's push back a little bit the tip of the nose out. Now we are ready, I think. Now let's fix the limits of the head. The limits should be here. This is the limit of the cheekbone. This is the limit. This is the neck. And if we use the same material as before, the skin shade, now you can see here we can fix nostrils, this, and maybe with the material settings, where are you here, so we can change the depth, so you can fix easily the limits. You can see how important is this for matching the lightness. Okay, something like this. There you go. So el transpose line, when by default you have the gizmo and you press the Y, la Y de tu teclado, pues transpose line, gizmo, transpose line, gizmo. The Y or this button, this icon, este botón que tienes aquí, la transpose line. Then we can say this is ready. Let me make it thicker. This, like this, and let me make it flatter. This, and this is going to be the first subtool about the head. So let me push this back for the cavity. At this point, if I select this brush, for example, with my preference, my favorite alpha is the alpha 39 with less lazy radius. We can start sculpting the things we missed. And now at this point is a matter of start sculpting. So just matching the forms that are not there yet, but this is for example, the limits of the lips. Yep. This, the limits of the lower lip. And now it's a matter of keep from this point, oops, and then keep sculpting till matching the reference, right, with the right brushes and so on. I don't want to be here. For example, here I have a problem with the nose. I'm watching with the reference. The nose has this form. We still need to fix one more thing. You can see here the problem that we are having here, and there are many problems of because we have been squeezing the mesh. And what we need to do is, let me fix this. How to fix this, because this is if we show this way, for example, from this angle, we are having something like this when we have the cheek, and now we have the nose. It's making something like this. I'm talking about this surface. This is what we are having. We need to create something more going like this, vertical wall, and continuing with the nose. So conclusion, we need to fill this gap. And now we are having those gaps. For example, we are having this gap here, we are having the same gap here, we are having the gap in the eyes, in many different places, because we were squeezing the mesh, so we are having this kind of undercuts or hangouts of the mesh. So the way, very easy way to fix this, for example, you can select this profile view, transpose line again, from here to the left. And one more thing important, turn on the back face mask, and now you can move it. You can see, and now you can see it is completely vertical everywhere. You can see here is happening the same here, the same thing here on the nostril. You can see. And now once you have everything like this ready, what I recommend to you, well, it's my personal preference, because we still have the same topology from the original, of course, with some Sculpting Pro strokes here and there, random places. I prefer to work from this point with Dynamesh. As we are about to sculpt very fine details. That means that we are going to need a high precision when we are started sculpting the necessary forms of the head, of the contour of the eyes, of the eyelids and stuff like that. I prefer to work what I normally call with a hard material. That means that when we are making a stroke, the surface is not becoming blobby and non-regular. This is the reason why I prefer to work with a hard material, when I can start curving with more precision the surface. That means that we will need to convert this mesh into a high resolution Dynamesh. The way of doing that, so we can go to the Z plugins. This is an external plugin, very easy to find, is the Dynamesh utility plugin. We are going to be able to convert any mesh into a Dynamesh, deciding or setting the polygon, the right poly count we are looking for. For example, if we are looking for a hard material to sculpt precision with precise forms, maybe 1.5 million polygons is not going to be enough. Maybe we can go from 1.5 to 2.5 or even 3 millions. Maybe it's going to be a good idea. I prefer to set up the blur to 0 and turn off this button. That means that I don't want to apply any blur or any smoothing to the surface. And now let's click on the Dynamesh button. So the ZBrush will make the rest. So you can see, for any reason, I noticed that this plugin is not working at this with the same way as before, because even if I have decided 3 millions, you can see ZBrush is giving to me half 1.5 million. Today I need to fix this many times. This is one thing that it didn't happen before. I know it's because the latest versions or what, but I need to go to Dynamesh and check the resolution that ZBrush decided to set. In this case 128. That means that with 128 I am getting 1.5. So that means that I need to go over 128. Let's see, 224. Click on Dynamesh now. Maybe I decided, so now with 224 I'm getting for almost 5 million. No, that's too much. Maybe 160. Dynamesh 2.5. Yeah, let's go to 170. 168. Let's see what it does. With almost 3 million, maybe 172, 176. You can play also with this little button here, but okay, 3 million, 2.94 million. So that means that we are getting a Dynamesh with the right resolution now. This is the head. I don't care about what happened on the back because you can see you are going to remove it. So it's time for saving. And okay. It's like walking on the thin rope all the time with the thickness. Yes, it has to look like in the cartoons. Let's follow. Yeah, it's almost the same, but yeah, it's almost the same thing. This is the thing that I find tricky, and you need to put effort on what you are doing because you are squeezing and sculpting very little amount of extrusions for start sculpting the forms. But I like it to make it. You don't like it, you are gonna hate it at the end. But because that's the reason why I was saying at the beginning of the streaming, this is going to be like being sculpting and drawing at the same time. So once we have, of course, we still need to create many different forms. For example, in the eyes, like this. For example, the eye sockets here, these two planes that we are having here, because here we are having planes here, which are something like this. We have plane number 1 and plane number 2, the same thing here, but here is a continuous shape. We only have one plane. We need to create these forms for matching the reference. We need to work till getting the same forms. But at this point is where comes in place. Remember that I was showing to you at the beginning of the streaming these 3 versions of the same of the same reference with different contrasts. So now we go to the plugin, to the draw menu, and we change from this one to another one, for example to this one. So now we're going to be able to, maybe we can save this as a grid number 2, and now we can change this one to the grid number 3. For example, this is going to be the grid number 3. So I'm working most of the time with 3 different grids: the original, the high contrast, and the low contrast. So for example, if we change from this grid to the previous one, open to the grid number 2, to this one, this is becomes very important. For example, when we are using the previous material we set, when we are checking that everything is in place about the mouth. You can see about the mouth, about the eyes and other lines. You can see now everything is in place. It's very important to just checking the main forms of the likeness mainly the eyes, the mouth and the nose. Of course, when we talk about likeness, the contour of the head, it's going to be very important as well. Let me check this. For example, I need to push this to the left. But mainly problems are on the eyes and on the mouth. Remember that this is the theme is making portraits, so the likeness is going to be very important. So let's come back to the original, like this. Yeah, thanks, Fexter. Glad you are learning something. Maybe I thought about this theme of these new streamings because maybe I'm gonna be able to show or to talk about completely different things that I didn't mention in our previous streamings. And because it's more sculptural, it's more related to skills or about sculpting instead of designing a product like a ring or like a pendant that I did on my previous streamings about jewelry designs. So let's continue. Let me turn this off. So this is what we get because I turned off the light boolean. Why? I'm going to change the topology of this because this is the original topology of the cube. I'm going to group by normals, different polygroup for each face. Now we can go to the ZBrush. Let me, I need the double of polygons, keeping the groups, don't apply any smoothing to the groups, and give me quads. Like this, ZBrush. Okay, like this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn on the solo mode with this. I'm going to extract, start creating the neck, right? So mask pen. I need a form for the neck based from a mask, following the reference on the back, like this, and extract. Set. So let's remove the mask, polish by feature, a little bit of polishing. Now we can make it thicker. And now, for example, we can series measure with double, like this, and then we need to put the neck here in place. Move infinitive. Let's fix neck limits like this. Let me give me more polygons. During the blocking, when we are just matching the forms, put them in place. It's not, I mean that it is not going to be necessary to sculpt any main form. So let's reduce the intensity. So that means that we are not worried about the amount of polygons. So with a low mesh, you can see here the neck has a fall here. The move brush. We need to remove. Of course, at some point it's going to be necessary to merge, to solder or to weld the neck with the head, but during the composition, it is not going to be necessary. It's better to keep them separated because we're gonna be able to fix things easily. For example, in this case, a good option for material when you are sculpting forms, maybe it's a material with a more reflective, for example, this one. No, this one, maybe this one. When you are watching more contrast, so you can play with the light. so you're gonna see better what you are sculpting. Okay, so let's go with the ear. So this one should be here to be affected for the Boolean subtraction. Let's go with the ear. Same thing with the ear as we did before. Transpose line, make it, oops, without the back face mask, of course. Let's make it vertical. Let's squeeze it. Let's push it back. Push it to the right. So like this, and let's adjust it. Ear is not going to be so important than the face, because the forms on the ear are going to be easier to sculpt again or to fix. Okay, we can do this, repeat the same thing as before, put the back face like this, and now go to Dynamist. Let me check with this open. Default resolution is given to me this amount of polygon, maybe more. The ear is not so important than the face, where we need more polygons, more definition, and more details, more form, more volumes, and so on. The ear with a low amount of polygons, it's going to be enough. So let's push this back. So a good method for fill gaps. This is a one trick. So you can use the H polish with the Alt key pressed. You can see here where you can fill the gaps very quickly. Maybe I need to fill this gap a little bit more. Oops. That's the reason why I separated the ear from the head. You can see now the reason why. That's a practical explanation about why I separate the ear from the head, because it's gonna be easier to handle and to sculpt it separately as a separate subtool. Maybe it's time for creating the hair. Maybe we can. Okay, still needs to be detailed. Less strength. If we start watching holes, like that means that we are very close to the back, so we should add more material to avoid this. Okay, maybe this part here. Closer to here. And maybe if I grab this little portion. Okay, like this, the ear is in place, so let's go with the, of course, Looks like here the head is in front of the ear, so this in my model looks like the ear is in the same plane, so we need to push this to the front using the reference. Okay, ready. Maybe even the you need an extra thickness here. Always when we are pushing things to the front, we should be checking the limits. For example, you can see here, now I'm over the limits, so it's time to push this back a little bit like this. Okay, so let's go with a different thing. Just for example, if we want to create the plane is mist we mentioned before about the eye socket here, about the plane we're having here. This plane, when we have here, this is the limit of the plane. Continues here and goes to the other eye, something like this, and now we are having these forms here. What we can do is we can use this with the picture. We create the H, maybe with more intensity. From here to here, from here to here. Now we have the positive, same, but we are still having the wrong form. This is what we are having. You see it's something wrong, and we need more going here and a vertical plane, so it's going to be necessary to fill this gap. Same technique as before with the H polish. Alky. Same thing here. Now you go with and without the alky. Okay, so let's come back to the H cloth, and with the negative I need a cavity here. Quickly build up with a low intensity. So we start having the necessary cavity there. Now we can use this to start carving this fold. Remember that you have this feature, this adjust last. This could be very useful. In this case, for reliefs, I use it a lot. For example, if you are making a very soft stroke like this, just drawing or following the path. So you can see almost nothing happens, but you can adjust last and apply more or less intensity. These are more, we can call this sculpting techniques, or Okay, maybe it's gonna be a good moment to start adding the eyeballs. Let's increase a little bit the eye sockets. I will make it with a mask. Something like this. Blur the mask, and now I can. How far you can see how far we can go is we start getting holes, so we need to stop. But in this case, these holes are not very important, but because we are going to put the eyeballs on top, so we will cover the holes, so we can. Okay, and then we can use the IMM primitive, insert a sphere, split mask points. We'll come here. Let's squeeze this ball. Not too much, because we still need a bit of curvature on the surface. Even this. Remember that even the eyeballs needs their own perspective. If we made them flat, they will look flat and strange. Okay. The reliefs, maybe you can have the wrong perception or the wrong idea that you don't need to sculpt the full body or the whole 3D object. Are going to be easier than sculpt a 3D full 3D object or character or person or whatever, but you are completely wrong. As you can see, the reliefs takes a lot of time. I think maybe less, maybe more than well, maybe it's gonna be difficult to compare, but I'm sure that they are not going to take the same amount of time that you think the first time. So because you are thinking that it's not going to be necessary to sculpt the full body and everything, but keep in mind that this will take more time than you expected. So consider that when you need to give a budget or make a quotation for a job which requires a relief, because maybe you are discounting more time than necessary, until you are going to lose money if you think that you're going to spend less time than with a regular full 3D object. Okay, the eyes are there. And maybe this one looks a bit strange. Maybe if we apply a mask here. What time is it? Okay, 5 minutes. So, okay, no comments. Okay, no. I will be here streaming next month again. As I said before, I'm used to stream once a month. So I will be here streaming again next month. So we will be here working on this Let's change the material. No, maybe yep. Yes. And we will be here sculpting this guy, this portrait, for maybe for 2 or 3 sessions. Today, I think today we have been talking about many different techniques and processes. Hope you find it useful, and thanks to all of you who are here watching the streaming live, or thanks to all of you who have been watching this video on YouTube. You can see here how you can see another plane which is missed. Here we have one plane, here we have another plane, 1, 2 planes here, and now here we have something like a curve. I need to create this border to try to create a better defined. So the way that I have to start defining the planes, so as first I start making the edge. It goes from here to here. Let's go from here to here. Same plane here. The same continues here to the border. And now to fill the gaps, edge polish. And now we have the nose. The tip is a bit rounded. I'm going to use this. It goes here and goes here and goes here and goes here. Oh God. The nostrils, okay. I think that the nostrils are good, but maybe it should be deeper. Okay. It looks good. It looks good now, because most of the time where you are making likeness, looks good at the moment, but tomorrow you start watching it and you start noticing that many things are wrong. You still redo and redo and redo things. So it's an endless work when you are creating likeness. You need to stop at some point, but I prefer to stop when the client approves it. If not, I will be working and reworking and reworking for forever, for the whole life, so, because I never see it perfect. But it's portraits gives a lot of work. Yeah. Okay. So. Let's see with the transparency, with opacity. Even we can be confused by the shadows of the picture. But I think at the moment that's good. Then probably you all already know this feature inside of ZBrush. When you have the project on mesh, you have this option. This is very cool. And this is another good method for checking possible mistakes that you are doing. So it's like you are able to project the image or the reference image against the mesh. You can see here, I can see I was wrong here. Let's be more open, the eyes. It's another good way for checking. I've been showing to you different ways for checking lines and proportions. Setting up material with different contrast on the images. You can import, and you can see here it is project on mesh. You can see you can start checking everything is looking good. Maybe the light comes from another side. Maybe we have a problem with this eye. It's a bit deformed. You can see here. This is a polymesh. Let's subdivide it 2 times. Look at. Okay. This is what we get so far. I think we will follow with this famous guy next month. So you can leave your comments on the comments, video comments. So I will be answer them to you, just in case you have any questions or you missed anything through the video, and I will consider that for the future streaming, just for considering this. Just in case if I need to repeat anything, if there is something that you didn't understand, whatever. No, yeah. So you can leave your comments there. Let's save it and let's start. Visel, en ese stream no escribí tanto porque está pendiente de lo que hacías. Qué bueno, muchas gracias. Espero que te hayan ayudado, que te hayan aportado algo diferente. El Smooth Picks, yo, como ves, utilizo 2 pinceles de Smooth. I'm talking about the Smooth brushes. I using Smooth Peaks and Smooth Valleys. He's asking what is the difference with the Smooth Peaks. That means, for example, you can see very clearly here, you have the mouth, and then you consider that you should smooth this corner that you have here with the Smooth Peaks. You're going to be able to smooth this. But for example, you want to retain this cavity, the line of the mouth. Even if you are using the Smooth Peaks, you can see nothing happens here. That's very useful because you are just smoothing the peaks. But if you change from peaks to valleys, you are going to be able to smooth the valleys, but you are going to preserve the peaks. It's like you are able to find a good balance between peaks and valleys. Instead of applying a general smoothing to everything, I prefer to be smoothing peaks and valleys individually. That's the reason why I always use smooth peaks or smooth valleys. And in some cases, smooth groups, just in case you are having any groups. But this is very useful for reliefs because, for example, here, you want to make the tip of the nose a little bit softer, but retaining the form, the line of the nose. With the smooth peaks, you can smoothing here, but you are not going to affect this cavity. So when you are working with reliefs and with this kind of relief where you have a little amount of space between the mesh and the thickness of the mesh, it's going to be very useful. So for example, if I change now the grid for the grid number 3, you can see here with this grid, I'm gonna start creating the cavities, start reinforcing, making more depth on the cavities, necessary cavities on the face, on the highest value. So it's easier to see here than here with this higher contrast. So we will need to fix that because the face is still a bit flat here. Even here is almost flat, but it needs many cavities and positive volumes. Here looks less flat on the forehead, but still flat. But yep, it still needs a lot of work. Still need a lot of work, but yes, we start recognizing the face. That is the most important thing. But as I mentioned before, during the sculpting process, you're going to find many mistakes which needs to be fixed, and it's a matter of time and effort till you are getting good results. With the move at backface max, it's like another good option to start defining the folds. You can see here. Okay, I will explain more tips on sculpting techniques for reliefs on my next streamings. I think I'm satisfied about the stream of today because we have been talking about many different things. I think it's going to be very useful. Dexter, for you it's a challenge. It's even more for us, the word. But I think it's very satisfying, this state of the skull when the detail starts to appear and give more likeness to the image. Yes, yeah, it's satisfying, but at the same time you are fighting with the likeness, you are fighting with your frustration when you are going to the wrong direction till you are noticing what you did wrong at the beginning and you start fixing things. But it's a matter of fighting with yourself when you are watching something and you are trying to translate what you are watching to your sculpting. It could be very frustrating, but at the end I found that I start very frustrated with this kind of commissions, but now I think I enjoy them because I try to being relaxed when I'm working and trying to find. So I started sculpting during 1 hour, stop, rewatch it again, continue, rewatch it again, and I think I found that at the end they are fun to make, but they are very tricky. Sí, están en ZBrush determinados. Sí, los puedes encontrar aquí. El ZBrush Peaks and ZBrush Valley, you are gonna be able to find them on your lightbox. Go into your brush folder, and then you will find here the smooth brush folder, and you will find them here along with many others, which I don't know why they do, but my favorite are smooth valleys and smooth peaks and smooth groups here. There are many others, but I think I didn't use them before. But try them yourself and let's see what they do. Maybe you find them useful. Okay. Okay, so let's put it here. Let's put this here. And then we can stop here. Okay, so welcome everybody to having here. So I will paste on the chat the stream, the link to my link tree, just in case you are interested on my work. You want to take a look to my social medias and visit, add me as a friend on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. I will be glad to help you, just in case you have need anything about the sculpting with ZBrush. And I will wait you here next month, maybe at the middle of the month or so, and to hope you good Christmas, I think. And okay, so okay, let's stop working. Okay, so stay safe. Thank you very much for being here again, and see you next month. Bye, everybody.